Welcome for our placement training. This is going to be our first assignment. First, we have to be clear how to create our own employee and user account. After that, we are supposed to attach the GL roles, general ledger roles, and the data access. It means security. We must know what are the minimum roles required for general ledger. There are number of roles which we will be using for general ledger, how to customize the role, how to create a new role, and inside of the role we will find the role access data privileges we'll talk about that later. So right now we are going to use the existing roles here, okay, and then we will go for attach this data access to the users, and then we'll go for how to create a simple journal by logging with our employee account. Okay, so now I'm going to hire an employee first. Let me go to the FSM environment. As I said, whenever we are working as a functional consultant, there will be two things. One is FSM environment, where we are going to do all our setups. All our module setups, will do it from here. 70% of our work will be here only. Almost 70 to 80% of our work will be here. Once we do the setups, then we are supposed to test those setups. How will you test? From the navigator. From the navigator, we are going to perform the transactions. For example, we want to configure interest rates for some of the suppliers for a particular business unit. And the client said, these are the dates and this is the interest rates, that duration as given by the client. So what we have to do is, first we are supposed to do those setups from here. Once we perform the setups from here, then what we have to do, we need to go for perform the transactions from here. It means we have to create an invoice and test it. So as we discussed, there will be two menus. One is user menu, setup and maintenance to perform the setups. Another one is navigator, is for transactions. So this is for setups and this is for our transactions, nothing but a testing. So what we are want to do it right now, we want to hire an employee. There are two ways we can hire an employee. One is HCM employee, another one is non-HCM employee. There will be two types of employees. One is human capital management employee, another one is non-HCM employee. What is mean by HCM and non-HCM? As we know that Fusion applications is one of the ERP product, one of the cloud ERP product, and we will find mainly financials, right? Supply chain management, human capital management, CRM, ORC, PPM, a lot of other domains we have. Public domains also has been introduced by Oracle. Okay, so here some client says that I don't want to use human capital management to maintain my employees' data. I have some other software. I'm using last 5 years or 10 years to maintain my 20,000 employees' data and also their salaries, their leaves, this and all. I don't want to use human capital management. I just need only financials. In financials also, I don't want all the modules. I just need only AP module, AR module, and general ledger. Complete reconciliation, I'll do it somewhere else. And as well as I'll go for expenses, some other module. So that's what they don't want, even cash management also. Okay, so only APR and GL. It's up to the client what modules they want to subscribe, and for that modules only they'll go for make the payment to the Oracle per year, this much, or per user license, this much, like that. So even if financials is taken by the client, who has to use this financial modules? Your client employees, right? So today we are implementing financials module successfully. We have implemented, and we will inform to the client that you can create invoice here, you can make the payments here, you can create supplier customer. Then after implementation, then support, then who are supposed to use this product? Our client employees, means client clerks, cashiers, financial analyst, financial manager, Okay, analytical people, they have to come to office every day and log into Fusion applications and raise the invoices and make the payments, create accounting entries, generate the reports, send the reports to supplier as well as to the customer and to the managers. So these employees also need a username and password, right? That is what we call it as a non-HCM. What Oracle will do is Oracle will provide a facility just to maintain your employee data, employee and user account. In case if you use human capital management, HCM, human capital management, then you can go for hiring employee. Okay, so I'll show you both the things, how it looks like HCM employee, how it looks like non-HCM employee. Okay, so if I go for my client groups, once you log in, you will find new person. This is human capital management. This is human capital management where we are going to hire an employee with all the details, with all the details. Okay, so here select a new person. Which role is required for this? Human resource specialist. So the person who has logged in, if this guy is having the role called human resource specialist, then he can go for hire employees. Again, the employees, there are pending workers, contingent workers, non-workers, and again, employee will have a single assignment, multiple assignments, a lot of information. But as a financial guy, we don't need those information. Just we need, okay, in HCM also, we can hire an employee like this. So I'm just showing you that hire employee here. Now I'm going to mention that the employee has joined in our organization 1st January 2022 for US1 legal entity. And then the employee name is HCM. Let's take employee name as John. Is the employee name. We'll find that details here, date of birth and national identifier. If it is India, generally we give Aadhaar card. If it is US, then we'll give social security number. If it is UK, national identification number, depends on the country, it will be changed. Now social security number, it should be this format, 3 digits, then 2 digits, then 4 digits. Must have this. Let's click next button. So we are entering first identification details, then person information, nothing but a employee home address, employee phone details, email details, legislative information, citizenship, passport, visas information, okay, work permits, citizenship information, contacts, nothing but employee personal contacts, nothing but parents or any brother or sister or any other immediate emergency contact. We'll find all this information. Here it is to capture the information of employee contacts here. Okay, so then we will go for here, see citizenship details, passport information, visas and because if client go with a human capital management implementation, all the options will be given, job name, position name, who is the manager. Of course, manager, job and position, we can do it in our non-HCM user also, but this is mandatory. Let me enter this. 2200 is a New York zip code. Now here we are going to enter the assignment information. When employee join in the organization, there will be an assignment because we'll assign the employee to a manager, to the department, location, job, position, grade. This all will assign, right, to the branch. Business unit is nothing but a branch. In our language, we call it as a branch, whereas in Fusion applications, we call it as a business unit. Okay, so I'm going to assign, he is going to work as a finance analyst. Let's say choose finance. How we are getting this job names position is a job of HR consultant, human capital management consultant will take care. That guy will configure the jobs, positions and grades. We are not going to involve here as finance functional consultant. So I'm just mentioning that he is working for Redwood City. You can just hire one time, enough. Just hire one employee and just check that user account is created or not. HCM, because we don't go for HCM generally as a finance consultant. I'm just for knowledge purpose. I'm going to show it to you. So go to the managers here. We'll try to set up the manager. I'm setting Curtis Piety is the manager for this employee. Select is a line manager or project manager, regional manager. You'll find all options, because once the employee join in the organization, there will be a multiple managers, right? He is your project manager, she is your HR manager, or he is your resource manager, like that, right? So if you want to go for add, multiple managers can be added here, and if you don't want, you can go for remove from here it is. Okay, click next button here. I will go for click next button. And salary information, payroll information, this is not required for us. We don't need this information actually. So we can go for complete the process. Salary details, generally payroll consultant will do it. Let's go for submit this. So we have hired an employee successfully here. For every employee, user account will be generated. User account will be generated. Generally, system takes the user account is last name dot first name, because whenever employees are joined in the organizations, definitely we have to provide a username and password, right? So that they can log in to the application and start doing the data entry. And they start doing the transactions. We don't call the data entry, we call it as a transactions. We call transactions like requisitions, purchase orders, transactions, invoices, payments, receipts, credit memo. These all are transactions, day-to-day business transactions. They are going to enter with the user account which we have assigned to them. Okay, so whenever they perform the transaction, system takes automatically those details here, and it will be stored into the database. In the backend, it's going to be stored here. Generally, whenever we go for submit, it is going to validate all the information whatever we have entered. That's why it may take a couple of minutes, not more than that, to generate the account. When it comes for the employees, for example, let's say your client is ICICI Bank. This client is having 25,000 employees. Generally, clients doesn't require user account for all the employees, right? They need a user account only for the employees who are working for an application. Means whoever is using the Fusion application, for them only will go for generate. Let's say 3,000 employees are there. Only these 3,000 employees will be connecting to the Fusion applications. Okay, remaining 23,000 employees are using some other software, or they may not be IT employees, they are non-IT employees. Okay, they'll not use our software. Okay, so for them, we don't need user account, right? We'll just maintain their information, their employees information will just maintain. We don't go for create a user account, right? That's why there is a setup in human capital management, whether you want to have a user account or not. Manage enterprise HCM information. I'll show you that exactly where do we do that setup. So right now, what we have done is we have hired employees successfully. for our company means for our legal entity. Legal entity is indirectly company, legal employer. Actual word is a legal employer. So whenever we are attending for an interviews also, we should not say that legal entity. We have to say that legal employer. And employee we don't use, actually. We call it as worker generally. But in financials, even if we say employee also, no problem. So this is what our employee, John Kennedy. This is our employee. Go to task list here. Once we search for employee information, go to task list. Here we can find user account is generated for this employee or not. Now what happened here? System is not showing that information. Whether user account is generated or not, it's not going to update that information, but definitely it will be generated. Let's see that. Where do we find that user account? Go to navigator. We can search from security console. Let's go to the tools menu. Which role is required for our user to work with security console? IT security manager. IT security manager is the role required to work with our user management as well as the role management. Go to security console. Here it is. Go to users tab. When we go for user account here, it's going to ask us the username, Kennedy. Kennedy.John. So this is our username, last name dot first name. And right now status is active and it is not locked. User account is not locked here. And status is active. It means this user account is working, and we can find here who is the employee, what is the person number, who is the manager, for which job and which business unit you have assigned. And we can see that there is only one role is assigned for this user called employee role. We'll look into that later. Okay. So this is one way of hiring an employee and create a user account. Hiring of an employee and create a user account. This is called human capital management, HCM employee. This is HCM employee. Then how we can get non-HCM employee? This is not required for us. We can just for knowing purpose, I have explained. Now we'll see non-HCM. Non-HCM is nothing but the client is not using the human capital management. Even for supply or CRM also. What Oracle says, even though if you are implementing only financial modules to your client, still you need employee and user account, right? Obviously, you are supposed to create employees and user account so that they can log in and do the transactions. That's why what we'll do is we will be able to create a user account from here. So let me hire an employee here. Go to setup and maintenance. Go to financials, offerings, and go to the task called manage users, search for this task. It's manage user means indirectly it's employee, non-HCM employee we are trying to hire. So whenever you are going with the non-HCM employee, it won't ask you much information, just employee details and which legal employer you are hiring and for which business unit you are going to hire. If we look at our enterprise structure and Fusion applications, it's a standard question in the interview point of view. They'll ask you, tell me what is the initial organization which we use to configure our employee. So at what level you are going to hire your employees. This is our enterprise structure. We'll be defining first enterprise. Within that, we are going to define the divisions, legislative data group, ledgers, legal entity, business unit, reference data set. This is all we are going to have. Now the question is, you are hiring an employee at what level? What level you are hiring an employee? Legal entity level means legal employer. Legal entity level, we are going to hire an employee. That's why whenever you try to hire an employee, first it will ask you, choose the legal employer name. It won't ask you the enterprise details. It won't ask you the LDZ or ledger. First it will ask you, choose your legal employer. Then it will ask you, choose your business unit. Choose your business unit. Same thing now also we can find here. When we try to create a person or employee, now we can see that here system is asking very few details. Enter your personal details and employee details and username. How you would like to notify the username and password notifications, about employment information and other details. When we are working with sales representatives in account receivables module, we'll talk about the resource role. How will you set the resource role and all that is required for account receivables. Now I'm specifying that here my employee name is Smith Kennedy, and I'm going to specify Smith.Kennedy, or you can specify the valid user account, valid Gmail account. I'm sorry, so that you will get it here. Let's say this employee has joined on so and so date. How about username? You want to assign the same username Kennedy.Smith. Can have small or capital. It's not a case sensitive. Okay. If user account is already there, you can also go for link this employee to the existing user account. This employee to existing user account, you can go for link here. Okay. So now I'm specifying here Kennedy dot the user account. I'm going to specify here and person type, whether he is an employee or contract employee or partner or retired employee. So I'm going to say that he is an employee. The moment when we say he is an employee, immediately the system will ask you for which company is an employee. Because when you are implementing the ERP to your client can have either one company or multiple companies. Okay, all the multiple companies data will be maintained in the same ERP software. Let's say Reliance company is there. Okay, Reliance has got multiple, Reliance Mobiles, Reliance Power, Reliance Energy, Reliance Digital, Reliance Geo, Reliance Energy, right? Like number of companies they have, right? Reliance Trends, okay? They have different domains, different companies. So they can maintain all those companies' information here on. That's what we call it as a legal employer. Right. So it is going to ask us for which legal entity you are going to hire an employee, as well as for which business unit you are going to hire an employee. So we have to choose first legal entity, then we have to choose this business unit. Then we have to go for choose this business unit over here it is. So the moment when we choose legal employer, it will shows corresponding business units which are available here. So go for save and close here. Now this is the username we have allocated for this employee. Now Kennedy.Smith, whenever he log into the applications, indirectly Smith Kennedy is connected, and this is the email ID. And if we want to assign the manager and all, we can do it here. We'll see that when we are working with the approvals, like journal approval, invoice approval, expenses module, expense template approvals, that time we'll look into that approval hierarchies, like supervisor hierarchy. Now we just hired an employee and created user account, and we mentioned that he is working for the legal employer called US1 legal entity, and he is working for business unit called US1 business unit. Okay, so then after creating this employee and user account, what is the next? We want to attach the roles to the user, general ledger module roles. Okay, so in GL module, there are multiple job roles. We'll talk about that later. Right now, I'm going to add only two roles. One is general ledger accountant and general ledger accounting manager. Excuse me, sorry. General ledger account and general ledger accounting manager. So that we are going to use it here. Here it is.
Sir, I have a doubt here.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So we are creating user account through the setup and maintenance navigation, and there is another option in security console also. So why there are two options here? Which one we need to use?
We can go for create both. See, there are again users when it comes for the user account, there are two types. One is setups user or implementation user, and transactional user. Okay. So implementation user is nothing but a person who is going to do the application implementation. We are the implementation users. For example, we joined in the project and we started doing the setups. We are an implementation user. So we are not going to have any employee account. Directly we'll have a user account and we'll go for start doing the setups. That. Then who is transactional user? Transactional user is nothing but an employee who is going to perform the transactions day to day. It means our client employees. Transactional user means first we have to go with employee creation. Then after that, we have to go for user creation for that employee, username creation for that employee. If it is an implementation user, does not require any employee, directly we will go for create a user. Username. Okay. So whenever we are working in the project, what happened? We want to do the setups. At the same time, we want to do it testing also. So what I'll do is for the same employee, I'll go for give the permission to do the setups as well as to perform the transaction. So that user will have an implementation access as well as the transactional access. But sometimes what happened in the project, our clients will say, no, don't do like that. Do the setups by using one login and test it by using another login as a transactional user. That time what we have to do? We have to go for manually create like this. Manually, we have to go for create a user account from the security console. That is an implementation user. When you do it from our right now, what we are doing, right? That is a transactional user account. Is clear?
Yes, but you're saying for implementation user, we need to use security console. So can't we create using setup and maintenance?
Setup and maintenance, you are creating user means indirectly that person is an employee user, right? Employee user. From security console means it is not an employee user. You can associate, you can assign it later, but there in security console means it's a directly implementation user. From setup
Okay.
and maintenance, we are creating means it's employee user. Without giving employee details, it will not allow us to give the user account, right? Here in setup and maintenance, see, it will ask you to give the first person details. After that, for that person, what is the user account you want to go for generate? But in security console, it will not ask us the person details, right? Directly, it will ask us username and password, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Cleared.
So whenever we are doing from setup and maintenance, it's a person. It can be a transaction user. So implementation user cannot perform the transactions. He cannot perform. He can do only setups. He cannot perform the transactions. If he want to perform the transactions, he must be an employee first. He must be an employee. If you are an employee, then you can perform the transactions. Okay. Now go to navigator.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Please go ahead.
Sir, now we are creating for non-SCM employee.
Yes, this is.
Can he become SCM employee?
Yes.
In
the database backend, all the information goes into the same tables. But as I have shown you in human capital management, a lot of options are there, right? Employee account, employee social security number, and employee or other informations that we don't have right here. Here we have just only employee details, employee first name, last name, and then which legal employer you are hiring, which business unit, right? Only this information will be stored into the database. But finally, when we go back to the database and try to search, then you will find both the information.
So can't we create it manually, sir? Here in this fusion level, database it should be there.
Okay. I think you are getting confused. It means whenever we enter the data in the front end and click the save button, this information will be saved into the database, right?
Oh,
In the back
okay.
end. Yes. In the tables, because again, you will search whenever you want, right? So this information will be stored in the backend database. So Oracle will be the database. Database will be the backend. We are going to write some queries and to retrieve that information. In case if we need that information, we can access that from the database by writing the select statements, by writing the SQL queries. Excuse me. For example,
Can't we, sir,
yes.
sorry to interrupt you. Can't we convert from here itself non-SCM to SCM employee? I mean, it will be from backend only. It's possible, or?
It's whenever you create an employee, it will be stored into the database table, and it can be visible in the front end also here. No problem.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So now we are going to attach the roles. Go to navigator, tools menu, security console. Go to security console here. So in security console, we have to go to user management. Let's go to user management here. Go to user management and search for our user, Kennedy.Smith. That's the user or employee user. Click on this. Now it's active. This user account is not locked. Now we are going to add general ledger roles for this user. We are going to add general ledger roles for this particular user. Go to edit. Add role. Here, whenever we are going for general ledger, we have to use the role names which are starting with GL. Okay, GL accountant, general ledger, GL journal. Here. Search general accountant, GL underscore, general underscore account and accountant underscore job. Okay, so this we have to use.
So, some people asking for, or We have to select Aura sometime they are asking for selection Aura. It should be
Yes,
start
yes.
with.
There is a difference. There is a difference
It seems
between
it's seeded
yes,
roles.
seeded role ORA.
Yeah.
You can also go with this ORA underscore
Okay.
general. Since it's not available in this latest, this is 22D. It means they have disabled here. This is our latest version. ORA underscore GL underscore general accountant.
Sir, in list.
Actually, sir, it's a bit slow this instance.
Yes, yes. Sometimes it will be like this. Here it is. ORA underscore GL underscore general accountant. There is a small difference between this ORA and as well as general accountant. Whenever we are talking about the role categories and as well as the security categories, we'll be looking at this here. So we can go for add ORA underscore GL. Role name is same, but role code is different. Role name is same, but code is different. ORA underscore GL underscore accounting manager. This we are going to attach. Yes. Now, what is this user? Is this user transactional user or implementation user?
The transactional.
Transactional user.
Yes. He is not an implementation user because he does not have the access to the implementation roles. He is an employee and he is having the access to the transactional roles to perform the GL transactions here. Okay. He cannot perform the setups over here. We need to go for reset the password. Let me go for reset the password for this. Whenever we attach the role to the user or employee, he can access the application. He can access the application. Generally, whenever we say any software application, there will be two things. One is front end, means application. Another one is a backend, means database. Another one is a backend, database. Front end means what we are going to see right now. We are going to open the forms and do the data entry. We are running the report and display the output and take the printout or email, fax. There are a number of ways we are doing. Backend means database tables. Generally, who will work with the backend? Technical consultants will be working, but still we must have some idea as a functional consultant, because whenever we are doing some conversions, we are supposed to test the data is loaded into the interface table or not. The data is loaded into the base table or not. If not loaded, what is the status and what are the errors we are supposed to check. Okay, so whenever we go for front end access is nothing but a role. Whenever you assign the role to the employee, employee can access the application. Employee can access the application. It means you can log in and open the page. You cannot create, you cannot search for the data because you don't have data access. If you need a data access, then you have to go for security. It's nothing but a data access you have to provide. So if we assign only role to the user, user can open the page. User cannot perform any transactions. But whenever you provide the data access, then user will be able to access the data. User will be able to access the data. It means either search or insert or update. Any of these activities can be performed by the employee. Okay. Whenever we say data access, it will be done at 3 levels. What is the first level? Ledger. What is the second level? Business unit. What is the third level? inventory organization, mainly 3 levels. Okay. So whenever you are working with general ledger module, you have to assign which ledger data you want to give the access to this employee. For entire GL module, your data will be separated or segregated based on the ledger ID, based on the ledger ID or based on the ledger. Okay, because whenever you try to perform any transaction in GL module, first it will ask me, select the ledger name, select the ledger. So whenever we are working in general ledger module, what is the security? Data access, ledger is the security. If you want to go for provide multiple ledgers access, we will create a ledger set. We'll create a ledger set. Instead of giving, for example, there is a regional manager. He wanted to access multiple ledgers data at a time. There is a director. He want to access all the ledgers data. So instead of adding all the ledgers one by one, we can set the group of ledgers. We will call it as a ledger set. Okay. And we'll assign that ledger set to the employees. That way we can do it. Okay. Next, another level is business unit. What is business unit? Their business unit is nothing but an organization wherever you are performing the sales, payables, receivables, accounting entries, cash entries. This all we call it as a business unit. In our language, if we speak, wherever you find the sales office, wherever you find the procurement office, we call it as a business unit. For example, you go to any forum mall, there will be a shopper stop. Okay, but actual shopper stop company will be established in Delhi or Mumbai somewhere. But this is just branch. It is just outlet. It is just outlet. If you buy some items and take the bill, on the top of the bill, if you see the company address, sometimes company name also will be different. So they might have registered the company with a different name. In the front end, they are going to have a different naming brand. Okay, so if you observe in the invoice, nothing but in the bill, the company address will be legal address. Legal address. At the time of creating the legal entity, we will be specifying the legal address, right? That. So in the formal maximum, whatever you are seeing the branded company outlets, we call it as a business units. Within the business unit, there will be inventories. Inventory is nothing but a warehouse, right? For example, you go to forum mall and you want to buy an LG TV. There will be one sample TV for display purpose. Okay, once customer says, I'm interested, I wanted to buy. Okay, you can book the order. You can make some advance payment or full payment, or you can go for cash on delivery. Then once the salesperson book the order, immediately the items will be released from the warehouse, because the stock is not in the sales office. In the sales office, only display item is there. The material comes from the warehouse or storeroom, right? From there, the material will be delivered to the customer location within number of hours or within 24 hours. It depends on the item, of course. Okay, so that's what we call it as an inventory. So whenever we are working with the Fusion applications, data access happens at 3 levels: ledger, business unit, and inventory organization. Ledger is when you are working in GL module. Business unit is when you are working with account payables, account receivables, cash management module. This inventory that we will be using for inventory whenever we are working with WIP module, BOM module, manufacturing modules, it will be used. Right now we are going with the ledger. Okay, so let's go for data access here. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, like you told about the business units, right? Like usually, for example, when you took an example of a forum mall and everything. For example, let's consider DMart, okay, as an example in this case. So DMart, okay, legal employer will be one, okay, one legal entity will be there in India, for example. Now there are DMarts, like in every city there's a DMart. So now whether the client will decide that all the DMarts, whether we need to create as a separate business units, or for example, if you want to club like for example throughout Karnataka, okay, you want to create as a Karnataka business unit.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So whenever we are implementing Fusion Financials to our client, the first question what we will ask is where your company is registered or established in India. If client says that I have established my company in Delhi, legally with the government, with the legal address. And I got registration, ROC, Register of Companies, and legal identification number, LR number, license number, everything, whatever legal authorities, whoever is there, whoever has given the permission, they'll say that. After they register, they have opened 100 branches. But in all the branches, whatever the bills they are going to generate legally, that comes under the same company. Then all these 100 will become as a business units. If client says that, no, I have registered legal entity in Delhi, means my company is in Delhi, and also I have registered another company in Bangalore. South India, this company I'll take care. This business units comes under South India legal entity. This business units comes under North India legal entity called Delhi. So they can have multiple legal entities like that within the country. So whenever the client says that I have 100 branches, the first question what we have to ask is, what are the organizations or branches are registered with the government, registered with the legal authority? Those all are legal entities. Within that, wherever they have just opened the branch, means local permissions will, it's not a legal entity. Those all we call it as a business units. Is clear?
Yeah, like if they say that they doesn't want all the branches to be taken as a business unit, if they want to take like state-wise as a business unit, whether it's possible or how, that's the only doubt.
They have to take it, right? See, when we say that, let's say I have a company in Delhi, and after that I have 5 branches. Branch 1 and branch 2, branch 3 and branch 4 and branch 5. So all these 5 branches I am doing the sales. So obviously for tracking purpose, we need to maintain the branches, right? 5 branches, that's 5 business units.
Okay.
So you mean to say that this B5 we don't want to recognize as a BU?
Okay, like because when it comes to DMart like that, there'll be 1,000 or 2,000, but we need to create every.
Yes,
Okay.
we have to create. Otherwise, how I can say that in Anantapur I am getting the loss, in Bangalore I am getting profit?
In order to track all those things, so business.
Yes, we have to do it. We have to maintain 2,000. Yes, 2,000 business units we have to create.
Okay.
And within that business units, again, we have to define the inventories. For example, DMart has got 20 rooms, for example, 20 store rooms, right? So means material is there inside. Material is there inside. So when employee log in and he want 2 TVs outside, how he will search? Will he go for search all the 20 inventories? No, right? He has to maintain the inventory name, sub-inventory name, and the locations. This is what the tracking here.
Okay, thanks.
This is what the tracking it happens here. Business units, inventories, sub-inventories, locations, and items. This is mandatory. For example, if you go to Apollo Pharmacy, and if you ask for a medicine tablet, what they'll do first? They'll search in the system. They'll enter that name. Immediately, it will immediately after searching, immediately they'll pick the item. Because the computer is telling, the software is telling this medicine is there in so and so place. How it will be telling? Because when you, as a functional consultant, when I'm going to configure, I'm configuring this branch is one of the inventory. In this, these many rows are there, these many columns are there. And for these rows, this is the name. These columns, this is the name I'm going to give. For example, if Apollo Pharmacy says that I have 5,000 branches in India, then 5,000 inventories we have to create.
Okay.
Because we want to track, right? Yes. So what we have done is now we have hired an employee and added the roles. Now we are going to provide the data access. Where do we do that? Data access, we'll do it from FSM environment, functional setup manager. So we'll go to FSM. These words are very important because when we go for an interview, we must use all our functional words. All our professional words we have to use as a functional consultant. This is very important because even technical consultants, if they are not using this Oracle terminology, not a problem. Because technical guys communication maximum will be with within the team only. It means from our IT side only. But functional consultant, as a functional consultant, we are supposed to interact with the end user. We are supposed to interact with the business users. We are supposed to interact with our client also. That's why definitely we are supposed to use the Oracle language, this Oracle FSM, and we will enter into FSM environment and we will choose the offerings called financials, and then we'll go for search for the task called data access, manage data access for users. Even though when you are giving the demo also in our placement batch, I request everyone, please maintain the same words, because that will become as regular practice. When you go for an interview also, you will follow the same thing. Manage data access for users. Manage data access for users. Here we'll go for manage data access for users. So whenever we are providing the data access to the user, we'll give the access for user and role combination. We are not giving the access to only for a user. We are not giving the data access only for the role. We are giving the access for the user and role combination. We are supposed to choose the username as well as we are supposed to choose the role name. The moment when we choose the username, system will automatically populate the list of roles which are assigned for this user. So right now there are 2 roles, right? We just assigned only 2 roles, general accountant. And whenever we choose security context here, it is going to show data access set. Data access set is nothing but indirectly ledger only. Whenever we create a ledger, automatically system will go for prepare one data access set. For every ledger, internally one data access set will be created. I'm going for US primary ledger. Next level, we are going to create our own ledger. Next, when we are doing secondary ledger, reporting ledger, and whenever we try to perform reconciliation translations, then we will be talking about our custom ledger. Custom means new ledger. That time we'll see the segments and other options. So this is the user account, and then I'm going to assign the same thing for the second user and role combination over here.
Sir, can we assign the other ledger also to the same person, the same role?
Yes. What we have to do is we need to choose the username and same role name and go for select another ledger. You can assign multiple ledgers to the users here. So here you have to choose another ledger, whatever you would like to assign.
Yes, sir. I had one doubt, sir. If at director level, one is having like all the rights for all the legal entities, right? And if he wants to, see the data for only a single legal entity, can he filter out that?
Okay, you want to restrict the data for a particular legal entity level, is it?
Yes, like just
legal entity level, we do not have this. Only ledger wise, business unit, as well as our this one, what we call it as inventory organization. What we can do is, if within that legal entity, obviously if the, let's say, legal entity is there, within that there are 4 business units. Now client is asking that entire legal entity access, so that 4 business unit access only, right? Indirectly. So we'll give that 4 BUs access within that legal entity, whatever ledgers are associated, that we will assign.
Okay, like just he is having like all the rights for all the legal entities, and he want to filter out only for a single legal entity. So could he be able to do that?
That's what, within that legal entity. Within
okay,
that
so we
legal
will
entity.
restrict. So we will restrict the other.
We don't have direct option to work with that legal entity level. We have to do it at BU level, business unit.
Okay.
Yes. So whenever we assign the role, we don't need to run the LDAP process. But whenever we assign the data access, we must run the LDAP process, lightweight directory access protocol. We need to go to the functional area called initial users. Once we go to functional area, we are supposed to submit the program called LDAP, run user and roles synchronization process. What this process will do, process is nothing but internally program. So what this process will do, it is going to synchronize all your users and roles and grants, whatever we have given, and internally it's going to prepare the views for the data access. In database, there are some views that will be useful to provide the access. Sometimes what happened, you will be getting this type of error message. One or more requests are currently pending for definition. It means there are already some LDAP programs are running. Somebody might have submitted. Okay, so no problem. Even if someone else has submitted the LDAP program, it will go for synchronize our users and roles information also. In the real time, generally what happened, this LDAP process will be scheduled for every 1 hour or every 2 hours, depends on the requirements, it will be scheduled. Okay, so right now we are getting error. Don't worry about that error message. We'll just log out from here and try to log in with our new employee, whatever we have created. Let me log out from here. Provide the user account here. Enter the password. So how to find whether roles has been applied to the user successfully or not? First, we have to check the roles. Roles has been applied or not. Then we have to check the data access. Two things. As I said, when we are going for our Fusion application, 2 levels. One is the role, another one is this. Go to Navigator. Whenever we go for Navigator, you are able to access the general ledger pages, general ledger task. It means the roles are successfully deployed. Role has been successfully deployed. Next, whenever you click on this particular task, then when you open the task here and try to search for the data or try to create a data, you are supposed to get your ledger, right? You are supposed to get your ledger. So whenever you are going to get a ledger, then you are supposed to, it seems very slow. It's become very slow. We'll see that. If it is very slow, we'll try to, we'll try to get another one also. Yeah, now I'm able to see the data. It means your ledger also, data access also successfully applied. Your data access also successfully applied. Now go to task list here. Whenever we go for task list, in generally we call it as a menu. We call it as a menu. Here we call it as a task list. So there are multiple ways we can go for create journals. One is create manually journals. Another one is you can upload the journals by using spreadsheet. Another one is you can go for import the data by using the FBDI, file-based data import. Another one is you can transfer the journals from other modules like account payables, account receivables, fixed assets, or some other, wherever accounts are generated, finally transferred to GL for reconciliation purpose. We are going to see all those options. We'll see how to create journals manually now. Then later we'll see spreadsheet. Later we'll see by using FBDI. Later we are going to post the journals from payables, receivables, and we are going to see the accounting entries in general ledger. Now go for create a journal. So what is meant by journal? Journal is nothing but an accounting transaction. It's going to be two-way. It's going to be two-way accounting transaction. Debit and credit. Debit means what comes in. Credit means what goes out. For example, we have purchased one monitor for our company. So what is the debit and what is the credit? Here debit is you got an asset, you purchased one asset. Here credit means you are supposed to make the payment. Let's say payment is not done, so we are supposed to pay. Excuse me. Later we will go for make the payment. That time it's going to be cleared. Okay. So we'll see those all accounting entries, which are very important. So accounting entries are mainly, they will be asking us an entry point of view, and from where these accounting entries are going to be generated also they will be asking. That we'll see it in the next level. Okay. So now we are going for create a journal. Whenever we are going to create a journal, system will go for create a journal batch. So what is journal batch? It's a group of journals, either one or multiple journals we are going to have it. Either one or multiple journals we are going to have it in the journal batch. Here we can find source. Source is nothing but organ of your journal from where you are going to create. And here we can find, do we need approvals for this journal or not? Here required. It seems the journals has been approved. Approval status is mandatory. Okay, but I don't want the approvals. I don't want to have an approvals for the journals. So simple setup we have to perform. Let me do it, because journals approval still we have not discussed, right? In BPM we'll be talking about journal approvals. That I will look into that. Let me just log out from here. Log in as an implementation user and disable the approvals for journals. So exactly which task will be able to disable for approvals? These are only questions they'll ask in the entries. I would like to disable the approvals for journals. Where do we do it? Which task?
At ledger, specified ledger level, and also the source level.
Yes. Manage specify ledger options. We have to go to FSM environment and go to specify ledger options and choose the ledger name. There we will find this. Let's go to FSM environment here. Go to setup and maintenance. Go to financials offerings. And search for the task over here. It is. We are going for the task here. It is called specify ledger options. In specify ledger options, mainly we'll be specifying two fields actually. One is journals language, another one is retainage account. Another one is a retainage account. These two fields are mandatory and remaining as optional. Somebody might have. Choose your ledger. Scope is a ledger. When we are working in general ledger, scope is a ledger. When we are working in payables and receivables, scope is a business unit. Whenever we are working with fixed assets module, scope will be asset name. Whenever we are working with asset book, sorry, not asset name, asset book. When we are working with inventory modules, the scope will be inventory organized. I'm sorry, it seems there was some network issue. Search for your ledger here, press enter key. Choose your ledger. Go down. There is a checkbox here. Enable journal approval. It has been enabled. That's why it is asking approval is mandate. Disable this. Disable this option here. Enable journal approvals. Now we'll just log out and we'll try to log in and try to create a journals here. Log in with the employee. I will go for journals here. Both are same. This we call it as a springboard. This we call it as a navigator. Both are same. Here in the navigator, we'll see as a menu list here. And here we can find as a board here. Now we'll try to create account here. Go for create journal here. Now we can see that approval status is not required. So for functional consultant, we must be very clear exactly where do we do this setup. For example, funds status, nothing but a budget. If the budget is allocated for the current period and current account, in case if I don't want a budget, then where do you go for disable? Right? So that those all things we must be knowing. We'll talk about that later. So this all must be on our fingertips. Here only they'll identify whether you are working consultant or not. Okay. So I'm going to specify here RTL first journal. I'm just going for category as adjustment. So I'm going to create an account here, debit and credit, $99. So let me go ahead with this. Mentioning debit account is $99, and then we will go for credit account over here. Debit must be equal to credit, otherwise suspense account will be generated. We'll also look into the suspense accounts later. I'm going to say that cash. So if we want to go for enter multiple journals, we can enter under the same journal batch. Here, right now we are going ahead with this. Okay, so go for save and close. Tomorrow assignment, everybody must be clear how to assign multiple journals, multiple ledgers to your user account, and how to create multiple journals under the same batch and go for perform this activity. Okay, so now I'm going for save this journal. Then go for complete over here. And then we will go for post this ledger here. post the journals over here. The journals has been submitted for posting. So we can go for check the status. Go to tools menu. See, I'm not able to find scheduled process here. Generally, I just want to know the status of our journal posting. Okay. So where do we find? Generally, we'll go to tools menu, scheduled processes. But right now, I'm not able to see. Which role is required?
Employee role, sir.
Employee role.
Employee role is required to check the scheduled process. But we don't have that. The current employee does not have the employee role. Let me assign that. Let me log in as an implementation user. Go to security console here. Kennedy.Smith. That's an employee. Go for edit and add the employee role here. Once we attach the role, we can directly log out and log in with our user. We don't need to run the LDAP process for this because we just added role only. Whenever we attach data access in security, then only we require this here. So now we'll go for employee role here. Let's log out from here. And log into the applications with our employee. We can find scheduled process here. Go to navigator here. Can find tools menu, scheduled process. Here we can find the journals has been posted, program has completed successfully or not. Post journals has been successfully completed. We can find the journal status in the application directly. We can search, go to navigator and go to general accounting and go to journals tab. Go to manage journals here. Give the journal name, click search button. Okay, so it has been posted successfully here. So this is how we have to perform all these statuses. So tomorrow, everybody has to hire an employee. HCM employee not required. Don't worry about that. If you have the time, you can just practice, otherwise not required. But you have to go with non-HCM user, and then you have to go for add the GL roles, and then data access. You have to assign 2 ledgers, and you have to create a journal batch with multiple journals, and then you have to go for posting the journals and check the journal status. That's going to be first 1 hour assignment. Everybody has to do it and explain. So everybody can perform the action, but you are supposed to explain what you have done. That you are supposed to, like, for example, if I say, so what exactly you have done means, I have hired an employee, and after that I have created a user account for employee. Then I have added GL roles to the employee. Then I have added data access to the employee by using the ledger name. Then we will be running LDAP process. Then we are going to log in as an employee and create multiple journals in the journal batch, and then we are going to post it. After that, we are going to see whether the journals has been posted successfully or not. This way of explaining is mandatory. This is going to be a major part in our success. It may not possible in some of the people can get immediately. Some of the people may not get immediately, but down the line, when I said next 2 months in our training, end of the day, when you are trying to prepare our resume, by that time, this explanation is required. It is mandatory. Let's do it from the today itself. Let's start from today. So tomorrow you may not give like this, but when you start practicing from tomorrow onwards, end of the 2 months, 100% you will give it, and you will be able to clear the entry. As I said, the motto of this training is everyone should clear their own interview. Everyone should work on their own without any job support. Just knowledge, or if you get struck up anywhere, you can ask on someone else, or you can call to someone, or you can search in Google and do the work. But you should work independently. That is what our motto of this particular training. Okay. So tomorrow, first 1 hour, this is going to be the assignment and your explanation. After that, we'll be talking about the other topics in our general lecture. Okay. Thank you.